Today in my Power Talks, and today I am bringing on at first. I'm going to bring on Matt. Let me just break down who he is to you, and then we're going to get right into it. Matt LeBris. Basically, let me just break it down. Now, Matt LeBris. I think I met him at York College. We'll go over it, and he wanted to intern for me, and I said, all right, I'll give you a shot. And he came in and interned, and basically what we have here, the write up on him is he came on as a business development intern at the Shark Group and worked his way up to content coordinator for my book Rise and Grind. He's one of the reasons why Rise and Grind became a success. And he went on to start a podcast called the Decoding Success Podcast, which is built on the principle that there is no longer a secret to success. I love that idea. And most recently founded 1B Branding, an award-winning branding agency. I got to find out what award, which helps business to differentiate themselves through smart strategy, imaginative and innovative design and activation. All right, so let me bring Matt on really quick, and let's get some questions about interning and all that good stuff.
Yo,
what's up, Matt?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I am well. Let me adjust my desk. Everything's going well with me. How you doing?
Everything is good, man. Everything is good. Living life.
All right. So, I kind of chopped up the intro. You're a little blurry. I'm not sure if it's me or you, but where did we initially meet, Matt? I believe it was York College. I'm not sure, but go ahead.
York College. Yep. York College, Jamaica, Queens. I believe that was 2017. Long time ago. 4 years now.
Yeah. Now, it's very hard to become somebody who comes to work for me. We usually source from different college, career people in college, and they give us the interns. But how did you approach me? Because I get approached often about people working with me. How did you approach me, and what transpired after that? I don't recall, but of course, obviously, you were effective in your communication, and we ended up working together. So can you walk me through the story?
Yeah, definitely. So long story short, it was myself and two other students who had the opportunity to meet you in the green room. You were backstage doing a whole bunch of press, book signing before you hopped on stage. I'll never forget, and this goes to show how great of a dude you are. I was the last person to shake your hand before you went on stage. You looked at me and you said, what the hell do they teach you here? How to break people's hands? So it was kind of good vibes off the bat. I was laughing. Right. We had a little bit of a conversation. You went on stage. And actually, before that, I told you I was going to intern for you. You just looked at me like I had the biggest head in the world. You were like, dude, right. You probably heard that 1,000,001 times.
Yeah.
You went on stage after your engagement was done. I was walking out with an individual that I brought with me, and we happened to see Georgie Barnes. Now, we knew George from the club industry, being in nightlife. So after the event, George and I had a discussion. He brought us back into the green room. One thing led to another, and George hooked it up.
Oh, very good. All right, cool. And then you started working as an intern, but obviously you must have impressed the staff and Ted and all the people who most of the staff started as an intern. And then I believe we hired you, and then you worked on the Rise and Grind book. And what was you were a content creator, but you did a lot. And I have to obviously thank you because it's people get the honor of, or I get the honor of people just seeing me when there are people like you and so many people behind the scenes who are working day and night to make these things come true. What was your job doing it? What did you bring to the table? What did you learn, out of it? Because hopefully some of that led you to where you are today, because you're now trying to do the same and empower people and give education to people. So just give me any of your experience there as an intern.
Yeah, so firstly, I'll start with what I learned, because I always get asked this question. What was the number one thing you took away from working with Daymond, from working with the Shark Group? Number one thing I took away was remaining calm. I'll never forget, there was a meeting that it was you, myself, Chauncey, and Ted in this meeting. Whatever we were fleshing out, whether it was some content stuff, whether it was some Rise and Grind, logistical stuff, I'll never forget how calm you were. And I'm sitting there on whatever it was. We were kind of just going back and forth. And you were sitting there so calm. And after that meeting, I walked up to you and I was like, D, how do you do this? I'm heated. Chauncey's heated. Ted's heated. We're kind of going back and forth, and obviously very civilized. Yeah. But I asked you and you were like, Matt, business isn't brain surgery. No one's life here is on the line. You literally said, Matt, you're going to lose money. You're going to make money. And that right there was my biggest takeaway, because as someone in business or even someone just in life, you know, like shit hits the fan and
Yeah.
you start getting a little frantic. I know I do. So that was 100% my biggest takeaway, and that was something that I always appreciated. But in
Oh.
regards to, go ahead, you want to
No,
say?
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in regards to the work that I was doing, I got brought on to help create systems to start creating content for you on social, right? You were already doing stuff, but we had so much press on hard drives, old stuff from Fubu, new stuff from from Rise and Grind, from Power of Broken, all these amazing press outlets, and we wanted to create systems to be able to generate and pump all of this out to continuously expand your reach. So that was the main thing that was brought on, and then of course Rise and Grind was something that got thrown on the desk, and that was an amazing project to be a part of as well, because it was something that I've never done ever in my life, never thought I would have done it, and you know, an amazing opportunity.
Well, so I want to elaborate on the remain calm thing, and it's funny the way you said it, remain calm. Remind me of Meet the Fuckers when the guy. Do you ever saw Meet the Fuckers?
Yeah, I know what it is.
You ever saw when the cop, when the crazy cop shot him with the electric thing? Remain calm. You know, but I think it goes back to what everybody, you know, it's all saying, you know, never react, respond. And you know, when you get emotionally, you know, charged over something, and you, of course, being a younger man, I was the same. But when you react, you never get the proper response out of it. I actually read something that they said, was it Elon Musk, or it was definitely Steve Jobs and Elon Musk had one thing in common. Sometimes they would now do the uncomfortable 10 to 20-second silence when asked questions in the room. And so they're sitting there, you know, just like this, and obviously they're in the leadership position, and you may ask a question to them, and they're just quiet for 20 seconds. Now, 20 seconds could seem like a lifetime when you're in a negotiation or talking to somebody, but they said that is a practice that they do that, first of all, it shows people the gravity of the situation, but it also shows that you're going to come up with a better thought out answer. Often, you know, I find that when you're upset at something, I do this personally, not necessarily when I'm in a meeting, but when I'm upset at something or anxious or whatever the case, especially these days, right, with COVID, you know, you never know what the hell is driving you, right? Because you've heard of a death over here, or you want to get out of the damn house, or the kid is yelling, or, you know, you and your wife, or whatever, you and your friends. I notice that I reflect and say, where is this anxiety coming from? Could I had a great night with some Tito's last night and my body is tired, right? Could I have heard about a quick call, or somebody said something to me like, yo, I gotta talk to you, it's really important, but I was on a call like this or something, and I see that text and I know that person is always about drama, or maybe that person is never about drama, and they hit me and said, I gotta really talk to you, and I'm like, holy crap, what just happened? Because right now, where we are in life, we're hearing so many bad things every other day. I think we're a little too connected. But when I started to realize that I have to go back and see where this is coming from, sometimes I may be super, super tired, and I know that maybe I shouldn't make a decision on this topic today, or maybe I'm emotionally charged because I just had an argument with my wife or my mother or whatever, or my daughter, and maybe I should sleep on it and make a decision tomorrow. So I'm glad that you brought that out of the conversation, because it's not something that I normally think about. And I love the old saying that, you know, life is 20% what happens to you and 80% on how you respond.
Right.
So I love that. I do want to get into one thing about you in regards to your internship. You decided to intern, you know, that means work for free. That, you know, a lot of people will say, well, I'm in college, or I'm at this certain age, or I have my bills to pay. I have whatever my responsibilities are. Or, you know what, if I want to work for free, well, why don't I work for free on doing something that I want to do for myself? But you dedicated your time and energy. You came to work the same time as people who were getting paid, and you left probably later than them half the time. What would you say to other people who are thinking that it's not for them? Or maybe, you know what, if they are thinking it's not for them, if they even have that mindset, should you try to convince them, as you talk about decoding success? Should you even try to convince them that that is something? Or, I'm trying to basically say, if the person doesn't see the value in that and you have to convince them, then you don't even want to talk to them, move on. What would you think about that comment?
Right. So I'm going to speak from my personal experience, and I only had one internship. That one internship just so happened to turn into a job. I was getting turned down left and right. I personally never saw the value in interning. In fact, all I thought, and this is probably why, listen, I failed out of college, right? I had to go back to college. I kind of worked backwards. Mm-hmm. I totally see this, because I was on both sides of the spectrum. I made a lot of money in my early 20s just from being in business. And at the same time, I lost a lot of money in my early 20s because...
you in business, what? You promote the nightlife, right?
Nightlife, correct.
Okay,
yep,
cool.
Yep. So I never saw the value in interning until I actually did it. And what that did was propel me even closer to where I actually wanted to be. It was just another door to walk through. It was an opportunity presented to me. And that proximity, and listen, being in proximity of you obviously is going to pull me a lot closer to where I want to be in life, right? But if someone is looking to get a job directly out of college, that internship is proximity to that job, right? And I didn't necessarily view it that way in my early 20s or even in my late teens. But when I had that opportunity presented to me with you, it was an absolute no-brainer. It was just proximity, and proximity is so powerful.
I've never thought about that. I think that's a form of mentorship, but proximity is correct, right? You weren't directly being mentored by me, but you were also working hand to hand with a lot of people who were working with me, and then eventually you would work with me in various different ways. Now, one thing I loved about you and one thing I did not love about you was you were somewhat of a know-it-all at the company.
I was.
Now, and I like that because I like it in a couple of ways because at least you are voicing an opinion so you can have a discussion about it with people. And it doesn't mean that you need to agree with them or you can agree to disagree, but at least it prompted a discussion. And that's why Shark Tank is so great. All the sharks know the fundamentals of business, but the way that Mark Cuban or Barbara will solve that problem will be a different way than I will. Or the way that Kevin will talk to somebody will be a different way that I would talk to somebody, even though we're trying to get the same thing across. But I think that also is part of age, being in your in your early 20s. A lot of us, Daymond John didn't know. Well, Daymond John doesn't know everything now, and I definitely didn't know anything in my young 20s. But then you would move on to have this decoding success, and you would want to go and share information and find information from others. And it sounds like obviously you have learned a lot. Where do you draw the line of being confident, somewhat opinionated, but yet learning at the same time?
So all I can say is the Matt that you experienced was way, way, way too arrogant, like ridiculously. And obviously now that I'm a few steps back from that, I realize that, right? Now I know that, or it's going to be a little bit of a tongue twister, I don't know what I don't know. And the more and more I talk to individuals like you, Grant Cardone, Dean Graciosi, all these amazing people, I'm just like, holy shit, like I didn't know this, right? So I don't even think there is a line. And the beautiful thing about it is everyone's perspective is different. Like me and you could have a very similar experience, but the way you perceive that experience is always going to be different or slightly different than the way I perceive it, right? And I think that's the beauty in it. And when you're able to open yourself up to the perspectives of other people in that sense, your world just continues to expand, and it really goes to show the reach of what is possible in this world.
Yeah, but you had to be smart enough or vulnerable enough to say, I need to change the way I'm approaching things. A lot of people here right now listening to us, they have family members that you can't tell them SHIT, but they still are unhappy with their lives in whatever form, whether financially, whether romantically, whether physically, but you can't tell them nothing. They shut you down all the time. They tell you why it can't work, and they are 100 years old or they're 50 years old. But you at a certain point, knowing that you had these opinions, honestly, it takes somebody up until, usually somebody would be around like 40 when they start going, man, I can't believe the shit I was saying when I was 20-something years old. But for you to sit there and say, in such a short curve, did anything specific happen to you? Did you take inventory? Because I'll tell you what my curve was. I tell this story a lot of times when I was so smart that I didn't go to college. I wasn't even as smart as you to try to go to college. And I like to laugh at all the kids who were going to college because I was on tour with LL Cool J and all them. And then I turned around and I joke, but I'm serious. I was now 22, 23. Those kids were coming back from college with jobs. And I was at Red Lobster being their waiter and felt embarrassed. And I said, and then most of my friends, my cool friends I was hanging out with, dead or in jail or on crack. And that's when I took inventory of myself and I said, man, I got to make a change, because if I'm going to look at the results right now, and nothing wrong with being a waiter, I'm going to look at the results right now. I have no goal to hit in life because I don't have anything I'm super in love with. I'm a waiter, which, am I going to do this? I'm probably, okay, I'll get a little bit of I can't build a bigger career. What am I going to do? Take 9 tables at one time instead of 2? That's not scalable. So, man, maybe I'm the idiot, right? And that's happened to me. And I'm not saying that you said you're an idiot, but how did you find that way to get out of your own way, or be very honest with yourself and say, I need to adjust this at some point in my life?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, what it came down to was getting hit by the 2x4 of life numerous times. After I left working with you in March of 2019, I just was on a total downward spiral, and shit actually got really dark. I really don't talk about it this much. And I know you talked about it all the time when I was with you. You know, you would always talk about how the suicide rate in Silicon Valley was super high. And it is, right? That's just the truth of it. Life got really dark. I was experiencing crazy anxiety. I almost was scared to leave the house, straight up.
Yeah.
And, finances, I was tapping into my Roth IRA. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just lost. And it was either I was going to continue playing victim to that, or I was going to make a change. And it took me some time to make a change. I didn't just wake up and, oh shit, I'm good again. It wasn't like that at all. In fact, I started to build. It was great. Then it wasn't great. And then it's funny. I didn't even think the conversation would go this way, but also different relationships with girls I was dating was revealing stuff to me as well. And I was just.
What do you mean the relationships with girls you were dating? You mean the girls were not the ones that you felt you should be with, or the girls were telling you, hey, Matt, hey, what was happening?
It was more so life telling me through them, right? It was just something wouldn't work out, and it would reveal something that I needed to work on myself. Right. So
were they good girls? Do you believe they were good people that you lost the opportunity with, or they were not good people who were sucking you dry of emotion or intelligence or aspirations?
I think I wouldn't go to the extent of saying that they were sucking me dry of aspirations, goals, etc. But they were definitely in certain scenarios sucking me dry of energy, right? And all of those experiences, whether it was the relationships with women or whether it was experiences on the road, speaking engagements, whatever the case was, everything was just revealing to me something I needed to work on myself. And instead of getting offended by that and, kind of just huddling up and kind of just being closed off to it, I just stepped into it. I literally just stepped into it every single time. And that just kept broadening, the horizons.
All right. So let's get into now all the good stuff you're doing with your podcast called the Coding Success Podcast. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? What have you learned from it? What can you share with people, and where can people find you? Because a lot of people here are saying that this is a very relatable conversation. It's just transparency, and a lot of times we talk too high about things that, because, in my world, we're talking about finance and everything else, but you can't never get to that point until you get past these points where we're talking about as a person, right? So let's talk about the Coding Success Podcast.
Yeah, man, I love it. I think I really drew the inspiration from just being around you and being able to have a conversation with you at any given moment when I was working with you, whether it was a text or whether we were out to dinner or in a meeting or whatever the case was. And I just told myself, I don't want to stop having these conversations. I want to continuously be in proximity of individuals that have things that I aspire to have in life, whether it's the ability to get their family the best healthcare, which is something you talk about all the time after your health scare, or, you know, whether it is to be able to fly on a private jet, whatever the case is, I just wanted to continue to extract value from them, which sounds very selfish. So I always spin it and say that I wanted to be able to amplify the messages of other people as well. Now, when I first started the podcast, it was super ego based. Once I got a taste of being able to land a certain type of guest because I knew how to sell myself, my experiences, and what I was offering them, I just really was tapping into the ego, and I was very driven by that. So I want to spin a question on you and ask you how you found ways to take ego out of the driver's seat. But ultimately, beyond that, yeah, it's just fun, D. Like, straight up, like, I have a lot of fun doing it. So it's on every major platform: Apple, iTunes, Spotify, etc. But I'm curious, like, I know you got to bounce in a little bit, but you know, how do you keep ego out of the driver's seat?
Well, you know, there's a balance of it because you can argue every angle of it. If if you don't feel confident about yourself, then nobody will invest in you. But on the other side, you know what I think it is. I think that I've been doing this now, and I've been, I started really getting public recognition around 1995, right? So I guess doing my math, I mean, it's almost 30 years of doing this, right? And then I had money, and my ego was still in place because my ego was still big because even with the money and FUBU was working, once FUBU would start going down, I know that the industry would say, well, he's a one-trick pony. That's never going to happen again. And they all wish you the worst because obviously, they want to do better. Not all. Some wish you the best. And then I switched over to various different areas of success. And I just think I think my ego has started to go away because when you walk in a room with people who have more success than you, whatever you deem success is, people who have bigger families or really happy with their faith or are in great shape or are billionaires, you realize that there's always going to be somebody out there with a bigger wallet, and bigger something else. I joke about it, but I'm serious. If Elon Musk woke up with Mark Cuban's money, he would jump out the window. And if Mark Cuban woke up with my money, he would be a welfare case. And then somebody else, if I woke up with somebody else's money, that is. So money, obviously, anybody can have more of it, right? Anybody can have more fame, right? And I just think when you're comfortable with yourself and you kind of throw it out there like that, people respect it. I was one day, and I always tell the story. I was one day in this woman's house, and she had this huge mansion. I mean, and you could tell that she had just she had just married this wealthy individual, and she was just she was just bragging about everything in there, and you can tell the way that she was bragging. It was a dinner party, and one of somebody I know jumped up and said, "Yeah, no, you're bragging a lot. You were real good. You guys live better than Warren Buffett. That's amazing." Because technically Warren Buffett has a little regular house.
Right.
It shut her up immediately because her husband say, "Honey, sit down." Right? Mm-hmm. Or somebody who has all the jewelry and all the lavish lifestyle and the furs and everything else, or the great suits and everything else, and somebody says to them, "Man, yeah, you spend a lot of money on clothes. You're amazing. You dress better than Zuckerberg. You are really doing well." You know what I mean? When you put things in a certain perspective, anybody can bring you down when you put yourself up here. But when you put yourself here, face to face, like, I'm proud of what I have, and I don't care about what I don't have. If I strive to get that, maybe I'll get that one day. But if not, I'm cool with this. I find that people have a massive amount of respect for you.
Right. No, I appreciate that, man. So essentially it was just being humbled that kept the ego out of the driver's seat for you?
Yeah, I think I'll tell you the time it actually happened. I went to Colorado. I went to Colorado one time, and this was an area in Colorado where the billionaires were moving the millionaires out. And I was at an event, and I had my FUBU chain on, and I paid, man, crusted diamonds, and it's about $150,000, $200,000. Bill Gates was over there. Warren Buffett was over there. A whole bunch of people in there. Like, you ever seen that picture of Bill Gates and Warren Buffett next to each other, and it's like $150 billion this picture and not one Gucci belt in sight? And I was walking around shining up my chain. And when I left there, I was like, Man, I'm an idiot. You know, and I was like, I ain't never doing it. And by the way, I brought my bodyguard at the time because that's when the FUBU was hot. And none of those dudes had bodyguards. And I'm up there with the bodyguard in there. And I'm like, I'm like, how crazy did I look in that room?
That's great.
You know what I mean?
And
you know, they were all like this. He brought his bodyguard and he got a chain on, you know? So, you know, it'll humble you.
No, I love that, man. I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. So, listen, man, I appreciate your time. And where can we find your podcast, Decoding the Success Podcast?
Yeah, it's on every platform, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, radio.com, Libsyn, all that good stuff. It's everywhere. Just type it in, it will pop up.
All right. All good, brother. Thank you for sharing, you know, and being honest and transparent about your history and about where you were mentally. And thank you. And listen, if your podcast is anywhere like this where you are extracting value, because I noticed, you know, one thing I do on Clubhouse and other places is I want to answer all the questions that people are usually too intimidated to ask, because a lot of people are in rooms or having conversations and, you know, they hear people saying certain words and they laugh, because they don't want to seem stupid by going, what is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And when they do that, they kind of tend to veer away from being educated and changing their lives. When, if they're in rooms where people are having these kind of conversations, if you do ask what is that, first of all, people generally want to share it. If the people around you don't want to share it, they're like, oh, you're an idiot. You don't know about that. They don't know much about it either.
Right.
But the true people will want to say and give you that information. And that will be the first step of you hearing something, because then when you hear it again, you know a little bit more, you know a little bit more, you know a little bit more. And that's how you learn. And that's how you grow.
100%. Definitely agree, man.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, man. Be blessed.
Right.
And we will be talking soon. I didn't do the podcast yet, did I?
No. I wanted to ask you questions on this. I wanted to ask you questions on this.
Let's go. Come on.
No, do your thing. I know you got someone else. Do your thing. I don't want you to be late for that. Do your thing. I'll talk to Ted and we'll get that situated.
All right. All good, brother. Sorry about that. I was up there asking you so many questions. All right, man.
I'll talk to you, D.
All right. Peace. All right. There you go. So, I hope you learned a lot from my brother Matt. Absolutely amazing young man who's going through life and is sharing stuff like that in real time.